My name is Patrick Stewart, head of product at Skycatch. Thank you everybody for coming. Really appreciate you coming out. We have just a really exciting and interesting lineup for this track for today and tomorrow. If you scan through that agenda, there's just some amazing companies and technologies and products and services that are up. So I hope everybody gets a chance to visit at least a couple of those. I want to thank DJI for giving us the opportunity to be a part of that. So I'm going to do a short talk here today, talk about what's the core message or the core themes of the track for this year, for this conference. And then actually be staying here to give a workshop on vertical mapping. Going to be joined by Hensel Phelps in that. So first thing, why are we here today talking about infrastructure? Why is it important? And I think everybody here probably has a really amazing reason, whether you're building technology or you're sort of using technology. It's an interesting thing though. You can actually find out from Google what's the status of our infrastructure right now. Does anybody know what it is? Any guesses? Good, bad, indifferent? So the American Society of Civil Engineers gives us a report card. We're at a D+ for just the US right now. So it's not doing so well. And they actually break it down to various facets of infrastructure: bridges, railroads, airlines, you name it. So obviously there's a problem, and we're here at this conference in this track to talk about there's people and companies that are doing something to help turn this around. Let's get this thing from a D+ to an A+. So in looking at that, we're seeing some themes emerge to talk about this year. And this is, looking back a little bit, but especially looking forward. What are going to be the most important things that we need to do as the companies and the people that are working on solutions and putting solutions to work? What do we need to do to get that up to an A+? So 3 themes that I see happening, want to talk about here, and I think you'll see through the rest of the track. Tackling challenging navigation, right? So we're here because we're talking about flying robots and flying sensors. And on infrastructure work, navigation of that thing through the air is especially challenging, even harder than mapping for agriculture or something else like that. In addition to that, we're seeing a theme emerge where in the past, infrastructure work used to be mostly about operations and maintenance. And it's actually not the case anymore, and there's a really good reason why. We'll talk about that. The last one is about data analysis. We know that to solve these big problems, that big D+ that we have, we're going to need good, actionable answers. And in order to get those answers, we have to process a lot of data and turn it into something useful. And we can't do that on human power alone. We need smart software, smart hardware to do that and help us out. So a little bit on challenging navigation. There's actually kind of three aspects of that. And I think this theme is really important, especially for this conference, because we're really focusing on how are we all leveraging and partnering with DJI's products to solve these problems, right? So getting in and around objects is critical, it's important, it's really hard to do. In addition to that, whether you're going underneath things or not, infrastructure flying always has GPS challenges. We'll look at some examples. And that makes everything that we're doing even harder. And last, because this isn't about just taking a picture from far away, this is about getting up close and figuring out, is there a problem or not? Where is that problem or not? Precision is critical. We can't help fix the infrastructure if we crash into it, right? So we have to be really precise and accurate. So for moving in and around objects, I just picked a few examples here where it's really easy to see that inspecting these things with drones is very difficult. look at the picture on the left there, the power lines. Trying to inspect a long series of power lines or many different towers or poles, getting the right angles, that's very tough. There's a lot of interference. They're kind of at odd shapes. There's actual cables running all over the place. That's hard. It's very hard to do manually, and it's also hard to automate, but we must automate it. Wind turbines, same thing. You have to scan basically 4 sides of each blade, right? You gotta get both edges, you have to get both faces. You gotta do that without running into the blade, because then you've made your problem worse. And the last thing, on the cell tower, I picked a particularly complex example, but there's hundreds of connections to the equipment, cable connections on those towers. There's hundreds of places where a squirrel could have built a nest, and the folks that are responsible for inspecting those things need to capture the right imagery at the right angle without shadows and other things getting in the way. That's not easy. It's not easy to automate, and it's not easy to scale, right? Another theme of the overall conference is how do we scale this technology out enterprise-wide, across entire organizations, across entire countries. Let's talk about GPS. We all know when you're flying a bridge and you go underneath, your GPS can start to get a little spotty, right? That's a pretty known problem. But there's new themes emerging, or new aspects to this. Who knows what the image on the left is? Anybody?
Hangar.
Close. It's actually the inside of a tanker, ship. And so if you haven't gotten a call from a customer, a prospective customer, asking you if you can use your drone, or they can use a drone, to scan and map the inside of a ship, just wait, because it's coming. I've fielded several of those. I don't know how to do it yet, but I know there's people working on that, and once we can do that, it's going to be a great improvement for that industry. Same thing on warehouses, right? That's a part of our infrastructure, moving goods around countries and continents, and doing that efficiently and effectively. Flying a drone in a warehouse is hard. You don't have GPS in there, and you have people and things that you cannot run into. And there's companies that are working on solving that and doing really amazing work. So theme number 2, talking about sort of the phase of the project that you're working in. We've all started operations and maintenance. It's a perfect place to start. We have a periodic maintenance schedule for these assets, whether it's a dam or a wind turbine. So you go out and you use a drone, and it's safer, it's faster, gives you a good record, probably less error prone on the analysis of the results. But we know that we can't grow the world, we can't expand and improve things globally on the infrastructure side unless we also build some new infrastructure. We can't just keep repairing some of these old things. We're going to have to build new. So that means that if you're working in the infrastructure space, your mindset should expand also, and think about the building phase, right? How do we install and find a place to put these assets? So there's a couple examples on the right side there from Skycatch customers. The top is during the construction of a wind farm. Using our solution in a sort of a normal construction use case, but it's actually more for an infrastructural use. Same thing on the bottom is scouting out new locations to install infrastructural assets. That's mostly a normal mapping job, and you wouldn't normally associate that with infrastructure work, but it's a really important part of it, especially as we start to, again, look at the bigger picture and how do we get that D+ up to an A+. The third theme, let's talk about data and getting answers, again, into the hands of the people that need to make change, that need to repair, and need to build new. We know that we won't be able to keep up and fix unless we have those answers. And we won't be able to get those answers unless we have really smart models for our AI. And we know that we won't have really smart, well-trained models unless we collect a lot of data and give people the tools to actually train those models. And so we have a few workshops in the conference this week that also talk about that. And And I really encourage everybody to start thinking about how can you incorporate that into your work. It needs to be, just like Skycatch CEO Christian Sands said at his keynote, we're all growing this industry, we're all growing these solutions together, right? And so we'd love to see everybody taking a part of this. And that's gonna help the world. So, to take it back to the beginning, to our report card that we don't want to put on the refrigerator. These themes, if we stay on them, we all work together as an industry that's driving everything forward because it's the early days and we're just making this thing grow. Love to see this America's report card of a D+ go into a world report card of an A+. And I think all the companies here that are participating in this track are each pushing us towards this goal. Any questions? No? Everybody? Cool. Thanks, guys. We got maybe 5 minutes just to let people show up until we start the vertical mapping talk.